Alright everyone, we are back and we are going to show you how we built this beautiful live edge table and matching coffee table that we are actually able to salvage out of this rotting silver maple log. This log was cut down several years ago, but we forgot all about it until recently. We decided to bust out our slabber mill and slice it up and see what we could find out of it. This log actually started spalting, which made some really cool colors that you'll see later on. We did run into some challenges milling this up that we were not expecting to find, so if you want to check out that full video, we will leave the link in the description below. After we got it all cut, stacked, and strapped, it air dried for a couple weeks, and then we placed it in our homemade dehumidification kiln, which we just built and are testing out for the first time with this log. The wood kiln was quite a challenge building, but we have a detailed video series on how we managed to accomplish it, and we'll also post that link in our description below as well. After 4 weeks in the kiln, the moisture sensors were reading about 9%, but we actually made a huge mistake not tightening the ratchet straps as the wood was drying, which were meant to help keep the pressure on the slabs so they stay flat as they're drying, but you can see here just how warped they are. We almost decided not to use them at this point, but since the slabs were 3 inches thick, we figured we could remove about 1 inch and still have a 2-inch thick table. In order to make these slabs work for a 4x6 table, we decided we were going to have to cut them down into some smaller strips, which would make slab flattening them much easier. We were able to find a narrower slab for our matching coffee table that was somewhat flat, so we decided not to cut that down into strips, and we left that as one solid piece. The blue chalk was a nice visual aid to show how warped these slabs were while we were slab flattening them. After flattening, we sent them through the planer, then jointed the edges to get them perfectly smooth and straight, and so we could glue and dowel all 3 slabs together for the table. We did notch out a small section of the live edge slab at the end to make the clamping process easier, but this will be cut off later on when we trim the slab down to length. There were a couple areas on the live edge slabs that stuck out a bit too far, so we actually ended up cutting them down a little bit and giving them our own live edge contour. The wood was starting to spalt, which created some really cool grain, but because it was starting to decay, we ended up having to use a wood hardener on all the sides of the table and coffee table. We removed the clamps after it dried for a day, and then we got to work on cleaning up the live edges and sanding everything down. There was a large split in this slab that we decided to router some black walnut bow ties into. That would give it a little bit more contrast rather than standard maple bow ties. We then taped the bottom of the table to help seal it off from when we poured the epoxy on the top. We then flipped it. We skimmed the whole top layer with an epoxy to help strengthen it and fill bug holes. We actually did a couple layers of epoxy in the cracks and holes because they kept settling in over time. After we had a sufficient layer of epoxy on the table, the biggest task was the many hours of sanding to get it ready for the final finishing coat. We really like the clean look on the bottom of our tables, so we actually routed both the table legs and our C channels flush with the bottom. And this gives a really nice, simple, clean look in the end. We often use polyurethane for our final finish, but we wanted a more matte finish on this table, so we decided to use Rubio Monocoat, which we ended up doing 2 coats to get a nice even finish, but it was well worth it because the table turned out beautiful. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe to see our upcoming projects.